I'm joined today by Sister Amina Karine. She converted 25 years ago and is now 45, living in London. However, she's originally from France. She works as a wellness and nutrition coach. Her interests include parenting, studying the Deen, and Arabic, and she's passionate about everything. Welcome, Amina. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
So, my biggest question from reading your intro is that you converted 25 years ago. And I'm thinking, what was your, around the time that you converted to Islam, what was the exposure that you had to Islam?
So basically, I grew up in France in like a little like a consul estate, basically, with the majority of people there were from Morocco, Algeria, some Turkish people, very few French actually, and but they were not really practicing except the parents or grandparents, but the young generation were not knowledgeable or practicing. But I grew up with them basically, so I knew their culture and their cooking or stuff like that. But we didn't talk about religion, never, because they didn't really even know their own religion. So that's the background. When I grew up, I started to be attracted with what basically first I was attracted with their language. My nanny was a Moroccan lady, and I was always bullying her to teach how to write my name in Arabic, how to pronounce stuff in Arabic. So I was attracted with Arabic, and then I was going to church. We had like religious lessons once a week to learn Christianity, because my mom is Christian, my father officially Christian, but actually doesn't really believe in God, but he thought that going to church and learning about religion will teach us the good, basically what is good, what is bad, like the evil and the good stuff. So we were going to church for. Yeah, so basically I started to ask questions when I was roughly 12 or 13. I used to go to, I don't know the name in English, but like holidays, when people are on low income, we had some like vouchers, but for holidays. So I used to go holidays with like youth centers and stuff like that. And when we were camping, I was in the same tent with so two sibling sisters, and other two sibling sisters. And the four of them were Moroccan or Algerian, I don't even really know. But every evening they were doing with the finger, they were doing what we call in Arabic the shahada. So they were just testifying every evening that there was only one God and one prophet. And that basically it was very short. And because the camping session was 15 days, at the end of 15 days, obviously I knew that sentence by heart. And I loved, because it was Arabic, so I did love it. And I started to say it myself every evening, but I didn't even know the meaning at that time. And I asked to the monk, can we pray in any language? And then he told me, it's God who created the language, so you can pray in any language. So instead of doing the Our Father, we call it Our Father, the Christian prayer, I don't know the name in English, Notre Père, yes, Our Father, I think it is. So instead of praying the Christian prayer, I was doing that Shahada every evening.
Incredible.
Yes, basically from 13 to 15, 16, 17, I was doing that every evening. I was generally fasting in Ramadan because I was the only child roughly that would be at home eating while all the kids were outside. So I wanted to stay with them. So I was fasting just to stay with them. So I was doing this with them as well. And I started to ask more questions. And I remember I was saying to all my Arabic friends, one day I will teach you your language. One day I will teach you your language. And I was sure that I would learn Arabic. And honestly, now I speak a little better Arabic, Fosha, I mean, than them, because they never learn. So they speak the dialect, but they don't speak the literal Arabic. And so all this questioning started. All my teenagers, basically, I was questioning almost everyone. I used to have a friend who Witness of Jehovah. I don't know the name in English, but yes, this you know that cult, Witness of
Jehovah's Witness.
Yes, these ones. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I was asking her. I was at that time. I was not even sure a God would exist or not. I was not sure about that because I was thinking, oh, if a God existed, there wouldn't be all this war, all this basically all these problems in the like people who don't have food or something. And she told me, she reminded me the Our Father prayer, and in the Our Father prayer there is a sentence that say, "May your kingdom come." So it means basically that God is not not in control, but he's not the king at the moment on earth. We are doing our stuff. If it was God's rules and God's only power, basically there wouldn't be any burglar, there wouldn't be any war, there wouldn't be anything. But because we are in charge of the government of the earth, we have all these problems. And for me, it did make sense that yes, that obviously if God is in control, there wouldn't be all these problems. And then I thought, oh yes, so we are here to be tested, to know if we will, where we will go after death. So all these things started to make a little sense. And when I was 18, I had to move from my little town to the big town of Lyon for my studies. And when I arrived there, I used to have a student, like a student flat, basically, in a residence with only students. And I met one Tunisian man, one man from Sudan, one man from Mayotte Island. Mayotte is near Comore Island and near Madagascar, or this kind of island, but they are Muslim. And some Senegalese men as well. So they were all Muslim, but their language were not the same. Their tradition were not the same, but the way they prayed was exactly the same. Wow. They used to pray with exactly the same word, the same pronunciation, the same. They used to have the same thing forbidden, the same thing allowed, the same compulsory things. So I thought, there's no way all these people can be wrong. They don't know each other, and they all have the same stuff. So I was thinking, for me, just to prove that must be the thing, that must be true, because if it was just a cult or something, it would be very local in maybe in one area. These people wouldn't pray the same way. And it amazed me. And I started to ask even more things. And there was a student that did help me at that time to learn. And then I decided to revert to Islam, because after I looked for many things, I knew it was the truth. Also because when I was asking all this, I was questioning the monk all the time about religion and stuff. I was always basically questioning everything he used to tell us, because it was very contradictory. For example, one day he used to tell us that Jesus, alayhi salam, when he was on the cross, said to about to die, basically looked at the sky saying, "Our Father, forgive them, they don't know what they do." So this didn't shock me, because in my mind, Jesus alayhi salam would be someone so kind to forgive to his enemies. But what I didn't really believe, what was the question, is because few days or few lessons before, we learn that Jesus is God himself. So I was thinking, few problem in there. If Jesus is God himself, who Musa alayhi salam, or who people before Jesus were praying for, basically, if God was not existing before that. So there is a problem with that. And another thing is, if Jesus is God himself, who is he talking to then? There is no one anymore left in the sky. Mm-hmm. So I was questioning, and the monk was, honestly, I think he had headache with me. He used to, and it used to be, oh, you always question everything, and because he used to tell me, God can do miracle and things like that. And I said, I'm not against miracle. If there is a God, of course, right, he can do miracle. I don't I don't have problem with miracle. But if Jesus is God, he wouldn't ask for his father to forgive because he is the father himself. So there is something wrong in there. There is one of the two stories that can't be, that can't fit. And when I started to look and to go deeper, I asked some questions to all these guys that were in the student building, and they were all at different level of knowledge. But every time I was learning something new in Islam, it was never a contradiction to something I learned before. But in Christianity, every time we were learning something, it was contradictory with something before that said the same, basically. And I read a book that is called, it's from Ahmed Didat. I used to love everything that he was saying about Bible and comparing religion. And there is a book called Crucifixion or Crucifixion in 2 words. And I learned a lot, and I saw even more contradictions. I saw that in the Bible, even the Bible I had at home, in some part of the New Testament, it's written that there will be a prophet saying, we will tell them to read, and he will answer, I can't read. And my Muslim friend told me, Quran started like that, read. Oh, I'm not from the one who can read. And it's exactly how the Quran revelation started. So I thought, look, it's just another piece of the jigsaw. And I used to tell all my Christian friends, even the monk, I used to tell them, oh, you say we are not Jewish because we accept Jesus as a prophet, Jesus alayhi salam, as a prophet, but Jewish people, they don't accept him. And excuse me, but we are doing exactly the same. There was another prophet. Why we don't accept him? And so it was a nightmare for the monk to have me in his class, I think. So because I didn't mind about stuff like miracle or stuff, but I am someone who wants to understand things. And I was thinking, if we love someone like our parents, and they give us orders, there will not be one day when you get up and you tell them, oh, that's okay, now I obey to you until now, but from today I will not. If they tell you something new today, you love them and you will still obey the new order. And with God should be the same. If there is a new order or a new messenger, we have to take all these updates, basically. And I didn't understand why the Christians, they don't accept the update. And particularly when in the Bible it's written that there will be someone coming, and all this comparison and stuff. So all this contradiction made real sense when I met all these Muslims who taught me little more. And then I had someone who helped me to revert to Islam and learn how to pray, and then I started to learn more about the religion. So that's the way I became Muslim.
So it's amazing how you were able to draw these conclusions, and when you start looking, it's right there in front of you. It's true.
Yeah.
When you going to when you converted, you said that you grew up in a small village or like a small area in France. Did the attitudes of the people who still lived there change towards you after you converted?
They don't know, because they don't know I reverted, except some of them, like my nanny, or because when I came to Lyon to study, I didn't really come back to that town, because I had and I hated that town where everyone know everyone, when they are always backbiting about everyone. I used to hate that town until the age of 18. So when I discovered the big town of Lyon, I loved it, because no one, so we can be free of. And I didn't really go back to that town, only exceptionally. And when I used to go there, it was not public stuff. I was just visiting one of few families that I used to know when I was a child, and I still met them. And I remember I met again my nanny, and I actually asked her, were you already Muslim? Well, I knew she was Muslim, but were you already practicing when you were looking after me when I was a child, or you started to pray after? And she told me, your father is so racist that I would never dare pray in front of you? Because I would have remembered if she prayed. And she said, yes, with my husband, we always have been praying. But when we were looking after you or your brother and sister, we didn't pray in front of you. We were keeping that always hidden. And she said, I wish I showed you. Maybe you would have asked me questions, and maybe I would have some of the rewards of guiding someone on the path, because now I don't have any rewards for you becoming a Muslim, because except looking after you, cooking for you, I never taught you anything about the religion, and I should have done it. So and another family had a little of a shock because I was such a rebel. How do you pronounce it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Rebel as a child, that the families didn't really want their daughters to play with me, and they were calling me, how do you call, girls that always play with boys?
A tomboy. Tomboy.
Okay, it's tomboy. They used to call me tomboy because I was playing with the boys all the time. Not because I loved boy, but because I was with mainly Arabic and Turkish background. They don't let their girls play outside. They always only allow their boys to play outside. My father and my mom were French, so they did allow me, but there were no girl available to play with. So I was playing with boys, obviously. And they used to, and when I have my friends from school, we played a little together, but they had to come back early at home. They always had to do housework. They had to change nappies for the little siblings. They were little mummies. And I used to tell them, tell your mom, you didn't do it. It's not your baby, it's hers. She didn't have to do a baby if she can't look after that baby. And because I was gutted to not be able to play with my friend and stuff. And when they repeat this kind of thing to their mom said that I was very feminist. I was giving them very bad ideas. I was a very bad, bad friend, bad advisor or something like. And they say, oh, no. So they almost forbid their kids to play with me. And when I came back one day, it was salat time for Asr. And my mom was not there at home. I had to wait for her. So I went to my neighbor upstairs, very close family that we grew up together all since my birth, basically. And I asked, because they are Algerian, I asked them, can I pray in your house? And she said, yes, you can. And I prayed. And one of the young girls, basically age of my sister, so it's not my generation, little like 5 years younger, she prayed with me. And the mom, while we were praying, I could hear the mom crying in the background. And then she said, oh, Karine, I have to ask you forgiveness because I used to forbid my girls to play with you. And you see now, Nijda is praying with you, but she's my only girl that prays. The one who are your age, they don't pray, they are not practicing. One of them even escaped with a French guy, because the family was so, yes, she escaped around the age of 16 or 17. She escaped from the house.
They eloped.
Yes, I don't know how you call that in English, when you just go away, you run away from the house, basically. And she told me, oh, I have to ask you forgiveness. If I knew, maybe I would have let my girls be more in contact with you, because look at you now. And she asked me, oh, can you read Arabic? And then I said, yes, I can. And there was Ayatul Kursi, so one verse of the Quran on the wall. And she asked me to read that. And I didn't know it by heart at that time. So I had to I used to read like a baby, like a phonics reception child. But she told me, even my kids, they can't even do that.
Wow.
So she was literally crying, and I'm still in contact on Facebook. That girl found me. Recently, she found me on Facebook, that girl I prayed with, and she told me, oh, I recognized your picture, because of the family name, she doesn't know my husband's name, but she recognized the picture. And because I think we have one friend in common, and when she saw my profile picture, she said, oh, it's Karine. And then she added me, and basically we get back in touch like that. And it was very emotional to go to her and see how, and it was a very big lesson even for me, to never judge anyone, we never know what they will become or whatever. And even if people are bad, we have to hate what they do, but not what they are, because they can change.
Exactly.
And to not prejudge about someone. And I used to use that as well with my son. My older one will be 26 at the end of the month, actually. And I used to tell him, listen, your friends, even if they are very, very bad, you never know what they will become tomorrow. And if they do something wrong, you have to hate what they do, but don't hate them, because it's not it's not their character that is bad, it's their actions. So make the difference with that. And it was a life lesson for me as well. Yeah.
Have you noticed anything, like any focal points or anything, any trends, like as you've been a Muslim now for a long time and you're doing so now, you're living in London, you're no longer in France. What are some valuable life lessons you've taken from that?
I think that's to never prejudge of anyone, and
Including yourself?
Yes, and to be yourself as well, and to know yourself, and be nice with people and be patient with them, because some people will come earlier than others, some will never come, but we have to represent as well the best as we can our religion as well, because particularly in France, the little bad things Muslims do is all over the place in newspaper, in the news, in the stuff. But when Muslims do very good things or achieve very great things, they never talk about that. So they are very, media in France are never neutral, never. So yeah, to be a good ambassador of Islam, particularly now that I wear scarf, if I'm even more careful to the language I use, to the way I behave, because I know when I go to France, for example, everything I will do bad, they will just say, Muslim do that, Muslim just throw their paper on the floor, Muslim do that. But if I don't have my scarf and I throw paper on the floor, they would just say, oh, that lady, she's dirty, but they will just say that lady, they would not say Muslims. So I have to be very, now I know that I represent Islam. And
how did it feel when you started to wear hijab and you put on the scarf and you changed the way that you dressed? Did you notice any inside changes as well as outside changes?
Because I used to have very bad friends, they were Muslim from birth, but very bad Muslim actually. They were just basically Muslim from cultural side, and they used to make me do a lot of mistakes, and I was not on the right path for after I reverted. And after I divorced from my son's father when he was roughly 5 or something like this, I had very bad friends, and I was still praying all the time, but with a lot of evil things on the side. And at one point I woke up thinking, it's like when when you have your legs on one, for example, you're on water and you have one leg on one log and one leg on the other, but when the two logs get far from each other, you can manage for a little while, but then you will have to go on one side or the other. You can't do that position for long. And then I was thinking, no, I get to where there is only two directions, left or right. I can't go both on the same side, on the same way. And I chose to wear hijab, a little like to punish myself as well. At the beginning, I thought, I will punish myself, because with hijab, I will not be able to do what I used to do before. Everything that is forbidden in Islam, I will not be able to do it with a scarf. So I was thinking it will just, even if I don't want to be serious, I will have to, because I wear the scarf. So I decided to wear it that way. And the thing I noticed that the one day to another, because I was wearing the scarf from before, generally I had like young men looking at me or stuff, or looking at the way I was dressing with a miniskirt or some tight trousers. And because I was wearing the scarf the day after, they didn't even notice me, or they didn't talk to me, these men, but more like elderly people or older Muslim women were saying to me, "Salam alaikum, salam alaikum," and I was thinking, oh, it's like I was welcome in another. I felt like I am welcome in another world. I'm living the world of this life, this worldly life, basically. I'm welcome to another virtual world of good people that wish good to others, and I was like introduced to that world, and it was I remember myself near the tramway with people telling me, "Oh, salam alaikum," with a nice smile, and I used to think, "Oh, I'm that important," and yes, yeah, it was a very great feeling that day, the first day where I wore my scarf to be greeted in the street that way, basically, that I didn't have that before.
Were you having spiritual experiences that you can describe? I mean, for sure, but I mean moments one-on-one between you and God.
I had the fact that I know that I had something about kids because I'm not supposed to be able to conceive kids. They say because after I had my son when I was 19, and when I was 16, I had a very big cyst on one of my tubes. So they removed the tubes, the ovary, and all one side. So I have only one side left, which is enough to get pregnant. And after my son, there was not another baby, and I started to have some examination and stuff, some tests to see what's going on. And they told me, "Oh, you have only one side," which I knew, but the side you have is blocked, so nothing will come through, and you will never get pregnant, except if you go for IVF. And basically, I had few after I divorced with my son's father. I had few marriages that didn't work, and I started to continue this test, and they put the liquid inside, and they told me there is no way you can get pregnant. I had the surgery, and in the surgery they tried to unblock the tube, and I still have a report here in my home that says what's blocked the tube is too hard. We can't get it out. So the only way you can get pregnant is to go through IVF. So before I married my husband, and we are now more than 10 years married, I told him, because I didn't want to hide that, look, I can have kids, but it will be only via IVF. And Islamically, when it's the dad and the mom by the biological parents, we are allowed. So it was not a problem for that. So he said, okay, we will do that. But actually, we had 4, and I've never been to a hospital except to deliver the baby. So for me, it's...
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it's not random, because I decided to leave France because I couldn't work with my scarf. So I literally left my country because I wanted to be able to work, but not without my scarf. So I just think that I can still be a very good French teacher with a scarf, or without a scarf. I couldn't see the difference. But in France, there is one. So it's why at some point we were here in London, in UK. They told me, go to UK. In UK, you will have the same life as in France. As a French woman, you wouldn't even have a racism of a name or stuff, because I have a French name. And they told me in England you will have exactly the same life. So it's why I came to UK, and then on the way, when I decided to come to UK, Allah decided that I would marry, and I did come to UK to never have to marry again. So my first intention to come to UK was not to marry. I tried, it's not my thing. So I was thinking, what are the options in France with a scarf? So either you can stay living with your parents, and they will look after you, but mine wouldn't. Then either you create your own business, but you need a lot of money. I didn't have that. Either you can work. I can't, because I have a scarf. Either I remove my scarf. I don't want. So I had to leave, and I left France just to be able to look after myself, because I'm not lazy. I can work. So I came here to be able to work with my scarf, and I married straight away. because I met my husband before coming. So I had my Islamic marriage done the day I landed in London. And now we are still together with 4 young kids. So
4 young kids. Wow.
yeah.
If you could offer one piece of advice to people who are thinking about becoming Muslim or people who have just converted, what would you say?
To weigh everything and to really think about everything, to not just go with emotions, because they will be attacked a lot, and we have to prepare ourselves to what will come after. If I had to come back in past, and what would have changed? What would I change? Is to know much more about Islam, to know much more about the way that when we become Muslim, a lot of things will become much harder. We will lose some friends, we will lose some family members that will hate us just because of the choice of becoming Muslim. And we will be surrounded with bad temptation, because I really think that when we are not Muslim, the evil or shaitan doesn't really bother about us, because we are not even on the right path yet. Right. But once we choose to be on the right path, this is when the biggest attacks will come. It's not before, it's that. And we often say, you will not find shaitan in bars or discotheques. You will find shaitan in the mosque, because this is where the white-hairs people go, and this is this kind of people that they want to make fall. That's not the drunk guy, always drunk, always bad. This one is already for them, basically. So there's nothing to do with him. So they will try to make fall down people who try to be good. And I would prepare myself for all these attacks before, to not be that surprised when it happens. And to surround myself, I would advise people who really want to become Muslim or want new Muslim to surround themselves with very good Muslim, but very open-minded ones, not the one that will make them tell them, oh, this thing is forbidden, haram, and makes everything complicated, and then they would just give up. People who would be very patient with them, and people who know enough about even things that are not religious, people who know about psychology or life in general, not people who are just scholars, for example, not and they don't know anything about life, or to be careful about who are the people around them. Yeah.
Are there any specific either Islamic scholars or inspirational people that you would like to mention? Like you did mention Ahmed Didat, and are there any other people?
Ahmed Didat is very good for people questioning and want to know more about the different religions, the
comparisons.
Comparisons, basically compared theology. I would really advise people, Muslim or not, everyone, to read as well. It's in French. It's a French guy, but all the books are translated. Maurice Bucaille's books. There is one called the Bible, the Quran, and Science. And he tried to check in the Bible and the Quran everything that is scientific, and check what do we know now, to see if the science did confirm what is in the text, did negate, but now we know that it's wrong, or we still don't have any answer. He was not Muslim, but when he started to look for everything about embryology or this kind of thing in both religious texts, he realized that everything in the Quran was never said it's wrong by a scientist. Either they proved that it was right, either they still don't know. And at what point, for example, the universe is expanding, they didn't know that few centuries ago or something. So we didn't have the answer, but now we have, and we know that it's true. And he said that yes, in Quran there is nothing that is negated by science. So these books I would recommend. And I know it's very. I like as well Numan Ali Khan, but he's very in the community. Some people love it, some people hate it. Love him, some people hate him. I know he must have done some mistake, but I just know that he's just a human. So anyway, if he has done mistake, that's normal. He's not an angel, and that's on a private side, so I don't even want to really bother, honestly. I really liked the way he approached, because I love Arabic language, and I learned Arabic language at university in France as well. So I love the way he goes into the roots of the world, and every time I pray with the prayer that I know he had made a tafsir on, and I will listen and study that tafsir, I much more focus in Salah, because for each word I'm pronouncing, if someone cut my prayer and asked me, "Oh, what are you saying?" I would be able to explain what the verse means and why it was revealed, or what is the background of this kind of thing. So I did like him as well. I love others as well. I don't really listen often videos and stuff, because I'm quite busy. So I try to focus on just learning Quran and understanding Quran and Arabic at the moment. And I think I will go more in scholars and things like this maybe later on, because we can't do everything. So
absolutely wonderful. It's been such a pleasure listening to your powerful story today, Amina. I really wish you the best, and may Allah reward you.
I mean,
if people would like to reach out to you, did mention that you're a wellness and nutrition coach, and I'm sure you have some kind of perspective on how that relates to the science in the Quran. You know, it's holistic, isn't it, about health and the body, and spiritually, our spirituality. Would you like to provide any social media handles so people can contact you?
I started to have a Facebook page that is not really updated a lot, but it's called Commit to Fit, because that's the name of my company. And all my profile, Amina, Karine, Kermous. So they can add me, and yeah, I can talk to them about that. And yes, the food we eat is so important, the way we think, to the way we, on the mood, and on the way we are focused or not focused in prayer. And even Allah in the Quran says not to eat only halal, which is lawful, but he said halal and tayyiban would be basically more about healthy. And this is what I try to teach people to eat, because, for example, chocolate, white is halal, it's allowed, yes, but we have to be careful with some quantities as well. Oil is allowed, but having too much of those will lead to diabetes and very big issue. And we also know that Allah loves more strong Muslim against weak Muslim, and we can't be strong in a weak body. And the food of the body, the food we put in our body will have an impact on what body we have, and then the mind we have, and the way we think and everything. So it's a whole balance, yeah.
Adam, there's a whole other podcast we could do about nutrition and what it says in the Quran. There's so much with fasting and even the quantities that we eat. So it's very exciting field, I have to say. Yes. Okay, Amina. I hope you have a restful evening now. I will just
it will not be really restful. I have an appointment.
It will not be restful.
And at 7:30, and then I will check homework of the kids. So not restful yet.
And I feel like I did want to wrap it up now, but I didn't. I feel like if we went into more details about parenting, and I feel like we got the most important points, alhamdulillah.
Yes, parenting is another subject I'm passionate about. Yeah,
I know. I mean, we can talk about it now. We can. I mean, you can tell me your experience.
No, my experience is basically the difference between being a mom at a young age of my son, who is now 26, and then being another new mom. My oldest, I call it my first one, is 9. So I have 9, 7, 6, and 2.5. So I started to have parenting class in this country because I wanted to improve my English. So I went to parenting workshop, but because instead of doing just SL, I thought, oh, let me learn parenting, and because it will be in English, I will just improve my English in the same time. And I learned so much, so many tips, so many very easy things that I was not aware of at all as a young mom, and that would have honestly changed my son's life if I knew all that before. And to be a much better mom now for the 4. And I loved it so much that I created a blog, but it's in French because I wanted it in my mother tongue. Most of the pictures are in English because I did post the picture, but I translated the picture and I translated basically the lesson about that picture in French. And I created that blog I really wanted to share with all my friends and everyone speaking French, new mom or old mom, whatever, tips about parenting, because the way we are as a child will impact so much what parent we will be. It's not even about religion at all, but the way I grew up as a child impacted a lot the way I am as an adult, and I don't want my kids to go through the same thing I've been through. So so this is what I want to share on my blog here.
I mean, you mentioned that it's not necessarily to do with religion, but I feel it really is intertwined, because when you maintain closeness and connection with your children as they're young, it helps them to really absorb the good teachings and what may be slightly difficult or challenging for children growing up in the West. Do you know why?
Yeah.
That's just my own reflection. I think it's all intertwined.
Yes. Whatever background, whatever religion you are, if you have good relationship with your kids, and a child who grows up with loving parents, caring parents, we will be more likely to be a happy husband or happy wife and happy parents. But if they grew up in an abusive household with parents that don't care about him or don't understand him or always put him on the side, whatever, because he's the first child or because he's the last one, or all this abusive relationship will make him more likely to be an abusive husband, abusive wife, or abusive mom. Or I don't know anyone who had a very happy childhood being a bad adult. If we check the serious killer, whatever, if you look at their past and their childhood, generally it's horrendous. You don't see a happy child that become a serious killer, for example. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much for sharing that with me. I'm just going to wrap up the interview now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.